All right. Hey, everyone, get ready because today we are going deep on Bitcoin and blockchain.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
know, right? It can sound kind of like a lot of buzzwords,
Right.
but trust me, it's shaking up like so much of the world, especially finance.
Absolutely.
We've got a ton of great sources lined up to sort of guide us through this. We've got a breakdown of Bitcoin halving and what it means for investors. We've got this deep dive into blockchain tech and all the different ways it's used. We've even got,
It's really fascinating.
yeah, a guide from Canada.ca, just for our Canadian listeners, about how all this crypto stuff affects your taxes.
Right, right.
So by the end of this deep dive, you'll not only have all the basics, but you'll
Yeah.
actually start to see how Bitcoin and blockchain could actually impact you, your world.
Yeah, I think it's incredible how fast these ideas have gone from like this niche thing to something everyone's talking about. And I think we're going to kind of unravel that,
Yeah.
like peel back the layers of the
Just
onion.
totally, totally. So let's start with the OG, the original gangster
Yeah, Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. What is it, really, besides the hype?
Right. It's like you can think of it like digital cash, but like a whole new way of thinking about cash.
Right.
Right. It wants to cut out all those middlemen we're used to, like banks, governments, even like the entire financial system as we know it.
Okay, so it's all about like peer-to-peer,
Yeah.
just cutting out those institutions in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And what makes all of that possible, this decentralized network, that's blockchain. That's the backbone of all of this.
It's pretty wild.
Oh, it's incredible.
So NerdWallet describes blockchain as like this shared public ledger.
Right.
So imagine like this giant digital spreadsheet that everyone has access to, and it tracks every single Bitcoin transaction ever
Every single one. Yeah.
made. And it's open for everyone to see.
And that's what makes it so secure, right? I mean, this isn't like one file on one computer.
Right, yeah.
It's distributed across like thousands of computers worldwide. So to hack it, you'd have to hack like all these computers at the same time.
Oh, okay. So it's like you're not hacking into a bank. You're hacking into like every computer in the world simultaneously.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it is secure.
It's incredibly secure
Yeah.
because each new block of these transactions is linked to the one before it using like serious math, cryptography. So it's like almost impossible to change anything.
Wow.
And that's what we mean when we talk about blockchain being immutable. Like
Right.
once that block's added, it's permanent. It's an unchangeable history of every single Bitcoin.
Which, speaking of history, did we mention that Bitcoin was launched by someone, or maybe a group of people, that we only know as Satoshi Nakamoto?
Right. It's so fascinating.
To this day, nobody knows who it really is.
It's a total mystery.
It really is.
Mm.
And this mysterious person or group
Mm-hmm.
created something that just hit a huge milestone. Bitcoin's price recently went over $100,000 for the first time.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy. And NerdWallet says there are a few things behind that, including something called halving and the recent approval of Bitcoin spot ETFs.
Oh,
But
yeah. That's a whole other thing.
we'll definitely get into that.
Absolutely.
But okay, so first, this halving thing. It sounds kind of scary.
Right.
Like, what is it?
It's actually a key part of how Bitcoin works. Every 4 years, the reward for mining Bitcoin gets cut in half.
Okay, hold on. So like digging for digital gold, like what is that?
Yeah, great question. And it's super important to understand how new Bitcoins are even made. Basically, miners, they use these really powerful computers to solve super complex math problems like cryptographic puzzles, you could say.
Okay.
And the first one, to crack the code, they get to add the next block of transactions to the blockchain. And for that, they get rewarded with brand new Bitcoins.
So it's almost like this race
Totally.
where they're all competing.
Yeah, they're competing to solve these puzzles and get those Bitcoin rewards. And because the reward keeps getting cut in half, it actually gets harder, more expensive to mine over time.
Okay, so, but why make it harder? Why build this halving thing into the system in the first place?
It's all about controlling the supply of Bitcoin and preventing inflation. There can only ever be 21 million Bitcoins.
Oh, wow.
That's the limit. So this controlled scarcity is a big part of what makes Bitcoin valuable.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So when Bitcoin went over $100,000, was that because of this halving thing?
It was definitely part of it. The last halving happened in April 2024.
Okay.
And as Bitcoin got more scarce, its price went up. But there's another factor, like you mentioned, those Bitcoin spot ETFs.
Right.
Right. That's a big deal.
So maybe for listeners who don't know, What are those, and how do they affect things?
Okay, so an ETF or exchange traded fund, think of it like a basket of assets you can invest in.
Hmm.
And a Bitcoin spot ETF tracks the price of Bitcoin specifically.
Yeah.
Now, when the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, approved these, suddenly it got a lot easier for big institutional investors, like huge firms, to get into Bitcoin.
Oh.
So
Mhm.
easier access for these big players, that means more demand,
Right.
which can push the price up.
And that's exactly what we saw.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These new ETFs had people pouring money in, wanting a piece of that Bitcoin pie.
But like anything in finance, I'm guessing there's always another side to this story. Because Bitcoin is known for being pretty volatile, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, remember that big crash back in 2022?
Oh, yeah. Bitcoin can swing wildly. Even with this recent surge, it wasn't all smooth sailing. A few months after hitting $100,000, there was this correction.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of that money flowed right back out of those ETFs.
So it's really high risk, high reward with Bitcoin.
Definitely. And it's really important for anyone who's thinking of investing to understand those risks.
Right.
Do your research.
And for our listeners in Canada, Canada.ca has a really great resource that explains all the tax stuff when it comes to crypto. It's important to know the rules wherever you live.
Totally, yeah. And this actually brings us to a perfect point to kind of dive deeper into the heart of it all, the engine behind Bitcoin, which is blockchain.
Okay,
So are you ready to really explore the potential of blockchain?
let's do it. It's not just about cryptocurrency.
No, it's so much bigger than that.
It seems like it's got its fingers in a lot of pies.
It really does.
All right, so we've talked a lot about Bitcoin, but now I kind of want to zoom out and look at the bigger picture here,
Yeah.
which is blockchain, the technology itself.
Yeah,
We keep saying, like, oh, it can do so much more than cryptocurrency.
right.
But I really want to see how that's actually happening in the real world.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, right? We started with this idea of a decentralized, like, tamper-proof ledger for Bitcoin.
Right.
And now it's like that same tech can revolutionize just about any industry.
Yeah, and Investopedia has all these crazy examples.
Oh, yeah.
Like supply chains, voting systems, healthcare, even property records. It's hard to even imagine how many possibilities there are.
It's mind-blowing, really. And what's really exciting is that it's not just theory anymore. It's becoming reality. Remember that example from Stanford Online with Dole Foods? They're using blockchain to track their produce.
Oh, yeah. That was super interesting. So they're like following their fruit and veggies, like from the farm all the way to the grocery store
Yeah.
using blockchain.
Exactly. Every single step of the journey gets recorded on the blockchain.
Yeah.
So they create this like totally transparent and unchangeable record.
Along.
So consumers can literally see where their food came from.
Right.
And Dole can guarantee the quality and safety of their stuff.
So it's like everyone wins.
Yeah, totally. It builds trust with customers.
Right.
And it helps producers be more accountable.
And think about like food safety.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Like if there's ever a problem, a contamination or something, they can trace it right back to the source.
Immediately, yeah.
Right.
And take action right away.
That's incredible. And I mean, this is just one example. Investopedia also talked about the pharmaceutical industry
Yeah.
where, they need to track where drugs are going.
Right, to prevent counterfeiting.
Exactly. That seems like a perfect fit for blockchain.
Totally. Imagine a world where patients can be sure their meds are the real deal, Haven't been messed with. That kind of peace of mind is priceless.
Okay, so we've got food, we've got medicine. Investopedia also mentioned secure voting systems, which
yeah.
I feel like a lot of people would get behind that.
It's a big one, especially with all the worries about elections being rigged or hacked,
Absolutely. Those traditional systems, they're just not that secure.
No, not at all.
So how would a blockchain voting system even work? Would we all be voting on our phones or something?
Maybe, yeah. But the main idea is that each vote gets recorded on the blockchain.
Okay.
And once it's there, it's basically impossible to tamper with.
Wow, so no more worries about fake ballots or hacked voting machines.
It's a really powerful concept.
Yeah.
And it could bring back trust in our elections.
Absolutely. Of course, I'm sure there are like logistical hurdles.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an area where blockchain can make a big difference.
What I find so fascinating is that we're just like scratching the surface here.
I know, right?
Like blockchain could disrupt industries we haven't even thought of yet.
Exactly. It's like the internet, It's a foundational technology that can be used in so many different ways.
Okay, so let's talk about healthcare. And Investopedia mentioned using blockchain for patient records. which
Yeah.
seems pretty sensitive.
It is, but it's also an area where blockchain can really shine. Imagine a system where patients are in total control of their own medical data.
Okay.
It's all securely stored on the blockchain, and they decide who has access.
So no more dealing with those annoying patient portals
Exactly.
or waiting forever to transfer records between doctors.
Yeah, it would streamline everything.
Right.
Give patients more power over their own health information. And think about emergencies. Doctors could instantly access your records,
Wow.
no matter where you are.
That's a game changer.
Totally. It could completely revolutionize healthcare.
Okay, so we've covered like supply chains, voting, healthcare. What else is out there?
Well, you mentioned property records earlier, and that's another area ripe for disruption.
Oh yeah, the current system is such a pain.
Yeah. It's so slow, inefficient, and there's paperwork everywhere.
Yeah, anyone who's bought or sold a house knows exactly what you're talking about.
Right. Stacks of documents, multiple parties involved,
Right,
and so much room for error or even fraud.
exactly. But with blockchain, you could have this like super secure digital record of who owns what,
Exactly.
and transactions would be faster, smoother, and way less risky.
Totally. No more mountains of paperwork.
Sign me up. But it's not just about efficiency, right?
No, not at all.
Think about the impact this could have in developing countries.
Oh, yeah, where property rights are often unclear.
Exactly. Blockchain could give people this like solid proof of ownership.
Give them control over their assets.
That's really powerful. It's like leveling the playing field.
Yeah, it's incredible. But we have to remember, blockchain isn't a magic solution to everything.
Right.
It's got its own challenges.
Yeah, every superhero has their kryptonite, right?
Exactly. So what are some of the hurdles blockchain needs to overcome?
Yeah. What are we looking at?
One of the biggest ones is scalability.
Okay.
Like, as blockchain networks get bigger, handle more transactions, they can actually become slower and more expensive to run.
Which is kind of ironic.
Yeah, totally.
We're talking about this super efficient technology, but the more popular it gets, the less efficient it might become.
It's a real paradox. But luckily, developers are working hard to figure this out.
Okay.
They're looking at things like sharding and layer 2 networks to make blockchain faster and more practical for everyday use.
So it's a work in progress.
It is, but a lot of smart people are on it.
What about regulation? That seems like it could be a big obstacle.
Absolutely. Governments are still trying to figure out how to regulate this whole new world.
Right.
That uncertainty can make businesses and investors nervous.
Yeah, even Canada.ca, that resource we talked about earlier, mentions that the Canadian government is still figuring out the tax stuff.
Yeah, it's a whole new ballgame for regulators.
It really is. And I bet a lot of businesses are hesitant to jump into blockchain because it seems so complicated and expensive.
Oh, for sure. It's like trying to teach an old dog new tricks, right?
Totally. It can be hard to convince those big institutions to change the way they do things.
Definitely. But despite all that, there's no denying that blockchain is gaining momentum.
Yeah.
We're talking about a technology that can make the world more transparent, more secure, more efficient.
Okay, so we've talked about the potential, the challenges.
Right.
I'm curious, what really stood out to you as we went through all these different use cases?
For me, it's the possibility of transforming democracy.
Oh, interesting.
The idea of having elections on the blockchain where every vote is secure and verifiable, that's just incredibly powerful.
I totally get that. It's
Yeah.
about giving people more power, creating a fairer system.
Exactly. And who knows? Maybe one day we'll all be voting from our phones on the blockchain, from the comfort of our homes.
But that would be amazing. Okay, so we've gone from the nuts and bolts of Bitcoin all the way to the incredible potential of blockchain.
Yeah.
But before we wrap things up, I can't help but wonder, what about the future of Bitcoin itself?
Ah, yes. The million-dollar question. Will Bitcoin stay on top of the crypto world, or will something new come along and knock it off its throne?
Well, that's a question for another deep dive. But for now, we want to leave our listeners with something to think about. Okay, so we've taken this journey with you through Bitcoin, all the ins and outs, and then zoomed out to look at blockchain and all the amazing things it can do.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. But before we finish up this deep dive,
Yeah.
we want to leave you with a question, something to kind of spark your own thinking about all of this.
Because really, we've only just scratched the surface.
Exactly. We've seen how Bitcoin and blockchain are changing things like finance and supply chains and healthcare, even democracy.
Right, right.
But this is just the beginning.
Yeah, the first chapter.
So here's the question we want you to consider.
What possibilities do you see for Bitcoin and blockchain?
Like, What gets you excited about all of this?
Maybe you're thinking, wow, a decentralized financial system where we don't need banks and governments controlling everything. Or maybe you're really into the idea of transparent supply chains, knowing exactly where your stuff comes from and that it's ethically sourced.
Yeah, no more shady business.
Totally. Or maybe you're thinking about those secure elections on the blockchain,
Right.
where every vote counts and it's all out in the open.
It's exciting stuff. Or maybe you're seeing even bigger things on the horizon.
Yeah, things we haven't even thought of yet.
Exactly. Whatever it is, keep exploring, keep asking those questions.
Yeah, keep diving deeper.
Because the future of all this is being shaped right now, and your ideas are a part of that.
Totally. It's a collaborative effort.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep those minds curious and stay tuned for more.